Hey, what's up guys? Node Investor here. So a quick update on Bitcoin and the altcoin market. It is breakout city. There are names moving. We are seeing tons of movement, and you wouldn't know that by just looking at the Bitcoin charts. All intents and purposes, Bitcoin has been relatively boring. Knock on wood. Let's not poke the bear too hard here, but this is continuing to move sideways in this very tight pattern that's getting very narrow. It culminates by the end of the week here over the next couple of days, but generally the way these work out is it will break out either up or down before it hits the apex of this pattern. So it continues to move sideways, but while it continues to go sideways, the altcoin market is having a little bit of a party. We're seeing more and more names set up, more names break out, a lot of good bottoming formations happening, and so you have to be paying attention to that, to not just be watching this BTC chart and say nothing's happening, because there is a lot happening in many of the other names. We saw just in the last couple of days some of the strongest names, Ontology, Verge, and we continue to see big moves today here in the market. So let's go through a couple of names quick, but before we do, I just want to point out these are the levels to be watching on the Bitcoin side. There's this trend line, this very clear established trend line, both on the up and the downside, and the next move will be significant outside of this trend line. Outside of the trend line, the key levels to watch near term on the upside around that $7,100, $7,200 mark. Here, this has been a key area of resistance on the upside, so even if it does breach, that's going to be the area to be watching here in the near term. And on the downside, a break below this trend line. The big area to watch is this most recent low around that 64, 6,500 area, and that continues to be the level to be watching here in the near term. We could see it poke below the trend line and then break out above, or vice versa, but ultimately those are the two key areas that I'm watching here in the very short run. And if you want to move a little bit higher on the BTC side, 7,500 certainly is a big resistance point that needs to be overcome. If you go to the daily chart though, you know, this is a relatively small move in the big picture. It's just sitting tight here. Now it is technically a little bit of a bear flag, so odds favor this thing breaks to the downside, but it could continue lower and just kind of chop and flop and invalidate this pattern a little bit, especially with the action that we continue to see in the altcoin market. But to be fair, I mean, this one still is living below this 10-period moving average, continues to struggle to get above that. And so until that changes, caution must remain all around, because once this thing moves out one way or the other, it will certainly influence the rest of the market. So in the meantime, the altcoins are moving pretty strongly. So let's go take a look at some of these other names. So Cardano, I mentioned this one in my stream yesterday. This one was getting very tight, setting up. You can see this pattern, and it's just now starting to break out above this trend line resistance. Very strong volume came in as this one's moving out. EOS, one of the stronger movers today, has been strong all around for the last couple of weeks, but just tons of volume came in and really breaking out here after that nice little pause. If you look at the daily chart, this has just been stair-stepping its way higher. I've been talking about this one here for a little bit now, but today's action was just incredible. Just a very big, very strong move higher. Ethereum sitting right below resistance here, so I'm watching this guy, looking for a little bit of a breakout. If it moves higher, the next area to watch is around that 780, in and around there, and then the area going into 500. But first, it's got to clear this very near-term resistance. So you're looking at this one here on the USD pair, on the GDAX, and that area right around 420 up to around 430, this little zone here. Once it starts closing above this, it's going to look much stronger. If you look at the daily chart here, it's really starting to build some pressure right below here. It's now getting above this moving average, which has been below that key moving average for a very long time. It's just continuing to turn, and now it's finally turning the corner and getting above and showing a little bit of life. Walton, big move off the low, good volume came in, it bounced right into that resistance, so it's pausing there. It makes sense that it's putting a little bit of a break, a breather there, but you can see here just the volume that came in here today off this low. And this is another one I mentioned here yesterday, just talking about this range sitting tight, and it's just a thing you got to watch here. These tight ranges that form right under a key resistance area, once they break, especially if the volume comes in like this, they can really move quickly, and we're seeing that happen now. Waves is another one. I've been watching this very long-term pattern forming over the last couple of months, now starting to put in a pretty good low, found some support here, and now testing this overhead resistance line and edging out slowly, but showing some good volume patterns all around. Neo, definitely one of the stronger names right now. We had that big move. This was the early signal a few days ago, and then it just pulled back, consolidated, and here we go, marching higher, and just very strong volume coming in. And this one I liked long term when it was sitting there right around that base here. It had retraced fully right above that prior support here, and I was watching this very closely to see if it would start forming a support area, and now we're starting to see some confirmation to the upside. So the first test on Neo USD pair, this $60 mark, which it's currently testing right now, is the first resistance point. It may see a little bit of a pause consolidation here, would make sense. And then above that, the next level up would be around that $75 mark. But if we do break above that 60, that would be good confirmation that this was a really good low in the long term. And that just makes sense considering it pulled right back to this long time support zone, and now it's wanting to move higher. The volume patterns certainly are strong. If you look at Neo versus BTC, just looking very good, stair-stepping its way higher. Gave you this little bit of a secondary entry point here over the last couple days after that big initial rally, pausing, breaking the trend line, and now it's starting to move higher. There's still a few that haven't really moved out yet, but some of them are really setting up. If you look at names like lumens and zooming in a little bit more on just how tight this range has been. So watch these overhead resistance areas, especially if volume starts coming in on these. Another one is 0x, has been sitting pretty tight. And if you go to the daily chart, just starting to build a little bit of a bottom here, that's 0x USD. If you look at 0x on the BTC side, it's just now starting to edge out above this resistance on a closing basis. So if it can close here, this would be very positive, a good break above this after a long consolidation here for a couple of weeks. Looking at Nano, again, another one that's just rounding the corner off the lows with some strong volume coming in. Still needs to break this downtrend, but these are some good early signs that it's trying to start to move higher now. We saw Wanchain being one of the stronger names here recently, and this one just continues to stair step higher. It pauses briefly, goes up on much stronger volume. And the thing with this one is this is going into new high territory, and so when something is this strong, it can continue higher for much longer. RSI on the daily is right around that 60, 70, so definitely has plenty of technical room to the upside. Near term was getting a little bit overheated, and it's good to see these little pauses because it helps reset things a little bit, but nonetheless, one of the stronger names out there. Aeon, another one that I've been liking here, breaks out above resistance here in the last day, pausing, giving a little bit of a secondary entry point. But if you look at the big picture on this one, it's just a long-term low that's being established here, and now it's starting to move higher with some strong volume coming in. And so these are just a few examples, guys. There's a lot of these setups out there, a lot of names that are just looking strong, and it's just breakouts time right now in a lot of these alts. They're kind of following suit after some of the strong moves we saw in some of the bigger names, some of the moves we saw in Verge and Ontology and all that last couple days and week. And the big question is, what do they all do when BTC decides to show its next move? We'll see how this goes over the next couple days. It'll be interesting. The sentiment out there is, it's very interesting right now. It's just so mixed. You know, there's still a lot of bearishness, and rightly so, I believe, right? We haven't really confirmed to the upside. No doubt some of the alts have been tremendously strong, but I'm seeing almost like not just bearishness out there, but just like this mean attitude and anger out there, and people are just, anybody that posts any positive charts or action on Bitcoin are attacked. And it's just, I've not just myself, but I've just been seeing it a lot in comments and some of the other YouTubers that I watch, and you could just see people are somewhat angry. And just stay positive, guys. I know that it's been a rough couple of months. I posted a simple tweet yesterday. It wasn't even anything major. I said, you know, by year end, we're going to see a lot of these tweets. If you had bought $1,000 worth of whatever coin in April, it'd be now worth 5, 10, 20K, just like we saw at the end of last year, where people were saying, $1,000 invested in lumens would have been this much. And it was just amazing to see the reaction. There was some positive, but just a lot of negativity. And I was thinking, wow, tweets just kind of come and go, but it's kind of surprising to see the strong reaction to any kind of bullishness right now. So hang tight, guys. This market will bottom, and maybe we already have. I think we have in a lot of these names all around. It's yet to be seen, and Bitcoin will ultimately lead the way when that happens. But for now, take it one day at a time. Stay positive. Crypto is not dead. Don't listen to those folks that are saying that. And we'll be here for the long haul. Till next time, take care, everyone.